I rang the wrong doorbell and changed my entire life. But I didn't know that when I was standing in the hallway of the Zenith Tower on a Tuesday afternoon, exhausted and behind schedule, holding a package that weighed more than it should, and checking my delivery app for the third time. My name is Jasper Hayes. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a delivery driver for QuickShip, which is a fancy way of saying I haul boxes upstairs and fight with apartment building intercoms for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'm also an Omega, low rank, which means my life was always going to be a little harder than everyone else's. But I'm used to hard. The day everything changed started like every other day. My alarm went off at 5 in the morning. I dragged myself out of my twin bed in my studio apartment that smelled like the Indian restaurant downstairs. I showered in water that never quite got hot enough. I swallowed my suppressants with instant coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. And I reported to the QuickShip warehouse by 6:30 to load my van with 123 packages that needed to be delivered across the city by 7 p.m. By 2 in the afternoon, I delivered 76 packages. My feet hurt, my back hurt. I'd skipped lunch because I didn't have time to stop, and I'd skipped breakfast because I'd sent my grocery money to my younger brother Noah for his medication. Noah is 16 and has juvenile diabetes, and our parents died 3 years ago in a house fire, which left me as his guardian and sole provider. The medication is expensive. My delivery job barely covers rent, utilities, his medication, and my suppressants. There's nothing left over for luxuries like food or new shoes or a decent apartment. But I'm not complaining. I'm surviving. That's what I do. The Zenith Tower was my second-to-last stop of the day. Luxury high-rise in the financial district, the kind of building where the lobby has marble floors and the doorman wears white gloves. I delivered here before. Usually I dropped packages with the concierge, but this one was marked, Signature Required, Penthouse Delivery Only. I checked the label, Adrian Blackwood, Penthouse 2. The app showed a map of the building layout with the little pin marking where I needed to go. The doorman recognized me and waved me through. Elevator to your right, penthouse level. I thanked him and headed to the elevator bank. My van was parked in a loading zone, and I had 15 minutes before I'd get a ticket. I needed to move fast. The elevator had regular floor buttons up to 30, and then 2 special buttons at the top, PH1 and PH2. The labels were worn, the lettering faded. I squinted at my phone. Penthouse 2. I pressed the PH2 button, except I didn't. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't realize until much later, was that the PH2 button had a short in it. When I pressed it, it stuck for a second, then released. The elevator interpreted that as a double press, which canceled the command. Then, when I shifted my weight and accidentally brushed against the panel with my elbow, I hit PH1. The elevator rose smoothly. I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes for just a moment. I was so tired, bone-deep, soul-crushing tired. I'd worked 14 days straight because Marcus, another driver, had quit without notice, and our supervisor had begged me to cover his route. I'd said yes because I always said yes. Because saying no meant risking my job, and losing my job meant losing Noah's medication. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. I stepped out into a private vestibule. Cream-colored walls, modern art, soft lighting, one door, solid hardwood with a brushed steel handle. I rang the doorbell. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard footsteps, multiple sets of footsteps. The door opened. 3 men stood in the doorway. 3 alphas. I could tell immediately by their size, their presence, their scent, and they were identical. Triplets. All of them easily 6'3", broad-shouldered, dark-haired, devastatingly handsome in the way that made my Omega instincts sit up and take notice even through my exhaustion. The one in the center spoke first. His voice was deep, commanding. "Can we help you?" I held up the package, trying not to stare. Delivery for Adrian Blackwood, Penthouse 2? The one on the right stepped forward. His expression was warmer than the others, his eyes a lighter shade of gray. "I'm Adrian Blackwood, but I didn't order anything." I checked the label again. It says A, Blackwood, Penthouse 2, signature required. The one on the left, who had been studying me with sharp, analytical eyes, said, "That's our father. He lives upstairs. You're on the wrong floor." My stomach dropped. Wrong floor. Of course. I looked at the elevator. then back at them. I'm so sorry. I must have pressed the wrong button. I'll go right now. And that's when it hit me. I don't know how to describe what a pseudo heat feels like if you've never experienced one. It's like your body suddenly catches fire from the inside. Your skin goes hypersensitive. Your scent glands throb. Your omega instincts, usually quiet under suppressants, suddenly scream to life, demanding things you can't control. I'd been suppressing my heat for 3 months. I was due for a real heat cycle in a week, but I'd planned to take suppressants through it because I couldn't afford to miss work. The stress of the past 2 weeks, the lack of sleep, the skipped meals, the exhaustion, it had all been building. And being this close to 3 powerful alphas, their scents flooding my system was the final trigger. My suppressants failed. I felt the moment it happened, felt my scent explode outward, grapefruit and vanilla mixing with distress pheromones, felt my knees go weak, felt the package slip from my hands. I'm sorry, I gasped. I just need to... The world tilted. I was falling. Strong arms caught me. The warm one. Adrian. His scent wrapped around me, cedar and something sweet, and my omega instincts purred even as my rational brain screamed that this was wrong, this was dangerous. I needed to get away. He's going into heat, Adrian said, his voice tight with control. I can smell that, the commanding one said. Dante, I would learn later. His voice had gone rough. Get him inside, now. My van, I mumbled. I'll get a ticket. I have more deliveries. I can't. We'll handle it, the analytical one said. Marcus, right now, you need to get inside. I tried to protest, tried to say I was fine, I could manage, I just needed to get to my van and take a double dose of suppressants. But my body wasn't listening to me anymore. The pseudo-heat was crashing over me in waves, and all I could do was cling to Adrian's shirt as he carried me through the door. The penthouse was massive. I got vague impressions of high ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture. Then Adrian was carrying me down a hallway and into a bedroom. Guest room, he said, setting me gently on the bed. You'll be safe here. Safe. That was a funny word. I wasn't safe. I was in a stranger's home, going into heat, surrounded by 3 alphas who could do whatever they wanted to me, and I'd be powerless to stop them. But Adrian's voice was gentle. We're not going to hurt you. I promise. We're going to help you through this. You don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. I can't afford to be sick. I have deliveries. I have to work. My brother needs... Your brother will be fine, Dante said from the doorway. His voice was firm but not unkind. We'll make sure of it. Right now, you need to focus on getting through this heat. It's not a real heat, I protested. It's pseudo, triggered by stress. If I just take more suppressants. Suppressants don't work on pseudo-heats, Marcus said, appearing beside Dante. You know that. Trying to force them through just makes it worse. You need rest, hydration, and alpha pheromones to bring your system back into balance. He was right. I knew he was right, but accepting help from strangers went against every survival instinct I'd developed. I'll call your company, Dante said, pulling out his phone. Let them know you're ill and won't be finishing your route. No, I tried to sit up, panic flooding through me. They'll fire me. I can't lose this job. Please, I just need an hour. I can push through. You're not pushing through anything, Logan said firmly. You're barely conscious. Your company will understand. You don't know my company, I said bitterly. Quick Ship doesn't care if you're sick or dying. If you don't finish your route, you're out. Then we'll make them care, Dante said, and something in his voice told me he meant it. I watched through increasingly hazy vision as he stepped into the hallway and made the call. I couldn't hear what he said, but his tone was clipped, authoritative, the kind of voice that was used to being obeyed. When he came back, his expression was neutral. They're sending another driver to finish your route. Your job is secure. You're lying, I said. They don't do that. I'm not lying, he said calmly. I explained that you were experiencing a medical emergency at a client's residence and that we would be pursuing legal action if they attempted to terminate you for it. They reconsidered their position. I blinked at him. You threatened to sue my company for me? Yes. Why? The 3 of them exchanged a glance. Something passed between them, some silent communication I couldn't interpret. Finally, Marcus spoke. Because you're ours. I must have misheard. The heat was making me delirious. What? We'll explain later, Adrian said gently. Right now, you need to rest. We'll take shifts sitting outside your door, releasing calming pheromones. It'll help stabilize your system. You don't have to do that, I protested weakly. We want to, Logan said simply. And then they left, closing the door behind them. I heard them talking in low voices in the hallway, heard the scrape of a chair being positioned outside the door, and then I smelled it. Alpha pheromones, carefully controlled, seeping under the door. Cedar and winter pine and something darker, more complex. All three of them, layering their scents to create a cocoon of safety. My omega instincts, still screaming from the pseudo-heat, immediately began to calm. My breathing evened out. The fire under my skin banked slightly. I should have been terrified. I was alone in a stranger's home, vulnerable, unable to protect myself, but for some reason, I felt safe. Like these three alphas, these complete strangers would actually keep their promise not to hurt me. I pulled a pillow over my face and let myself cry. From exhaustion, from fear, from the overwhelming relief of not being alone for once. And through it all, those alpha pheromones kept coming, steady and sure, telling my omega instincts that I was protected. That someone was taking care of me for once. The pseudo-heat lasted 3 days. 3 long, miserable days where my body cycled between burning up and shivering with cold, where my scent glands throbbed with overproduction, where my omega instincts demanded things I couldn't have. The triplets kept their promise. They took shifts outside my door, never entering, always releasing just enough pheromones to keep me stable. They left food and water on a tray just inside the door, knocked to let me know it was there, then retreated before I could feel embarrassed about my state. On the second day, I heard Adrian's voice through the door. Jasper, that's your name, right? We found it on your driver's license. I hope you don't mind that we looked. It's fine, I called back, my voice hoarse. How are you feeling? Like I'm dying. You're not dying. I promise. This will pass. Easy for you to say. You're not the one going through it. I heard him laugh softly. Fair point. Is there anything we can get you? Anything that would help? I thought about it. My brother, Noah. He's 16. He has juvenile diabetes. I need to make sure he has his medication and that he's eating properly. I usually call him every night, and I haven't been able to. What's his number? I rattled it off, heard Adrian typing on his phone. I'll call him right now, Adrian said. I'll explain that you're sick but safe, and I'll make sure he has everything he needs. Okay? Why are you doing this? I asked. You don't even know me. Silence. Then, we'll explain when you're feeling better, I promise. True to his word, Adrian called Noah. I heard his voice, calm and reassuring, explaining that I was safe but ill and wouldn't be able to visit for a few days. I heard him ask about Noah's medication, about his diet, about whether he needed anything. And then I heard him say, we'll have groceries delivered to you today, and medication if you're running low. Don't worry about the cost. Your brother's being taken care of. I wanted to protest, wanted to say I'd pay them back, but I was too exhausted, too overwhelmed by the fact that someone was helping without being asked. On the third day, the heat finally broke. I woke up clear-headed for the first time in 72 hours. My scent had returned to normal. My body ached, but the fire was gone. I stumbled out of bed and into the attached bathroom, caught sight of myself in the mirror and winced. I looked terrible. Dark circles under my eyes, my hair a mess, my delivery uniform rumpled and sweat-stained. I needed to leave, needed to get back to my apartment, back to my life. These men had been kind, but I'd imposed on them long enough. I opened the bedroom door carefully. The hallway was empty. I could hear voices coming from somewhere in the penthouse. The living room, maybe. I considered trying to sneak out, but that felt cowardly. They'd helped me. The least I could do was thank them and say goodbye properly. I followed the voices, found myself standing in the entrance to a massive living room. The 3 triplets were there, sitting on an L-shaped leather couch, each of them with a laptop or tablet, clearly working. They looked up when I appeared. Dante stood first. You're up. How are you feeling? Better, embarrassed, grateful. I took a breath. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you for helping me. I'll get out of your way now. Sit, Marcus said, closing his laptop. It wasn't a command, exactly, but it had the weight of one. We need to talk. I really should go. Please, Adrian said, his voice gentle. Just 10 minutes. Then you can leave if you want to. If I want to. That phrasing was deliberate. I sat. Dante studied me for a long moment. Do you know what happened to you? Why your pseudo-heat was so intense? Stress, I said. I've been working too much, not eating enough, not sleeping enough. My suppressants failed. It happens. That's part of it, Marcus agreed. But there's more. I waited. Logan spoke next. Has anyone ever explained fated mates to you? My stomach dropped. That's a myth. It's not, Dante said quietly. It's rare, but it's real. When two people, an alpha and an omega, are biologically compatible at a level beyond normal compatibility, they form what's called a fated mate bond. The bond makes them hyper-aware of each other. Their pheromones are perfectly matched. Their bodies recognize each other before their minds do. That's not real, I repeated, but my voice was weaker. It is, Adrian said, and it's even rarer for triplet alphas. We share everything. If one of us has a fated mate, all three of us bond to them. It's biological. We can't control it. I stared at them, at their identical faces, their identical expressions of certainty. You think I'm your fated mate. We know you are, Marcus said. We scented you the moment you rang our doorbell. All three of us recognized you simultaneously. That's why your pseudo-heat was so intense. Being that close to your fated mates, having their pheromones surround you without being able to complete the bond, it triggered a biological cascade. That's insane, I said. But even as I said it, I knew it was true. I'd felt it. That pull, that recognition, the way their sense had made my omega instincts sing. We know this is overwhelming, Adrian said. We know you have no reason to trust us. But we're not asking you to accept the bond right now. We're just asking you to consider it. Consider it? I repeated. You're asking me to consider bonding with three strangers? Becoming your mate? Changing my entire life? Yes, Dante said simply. I laughed, but it came out bitter. I'm a delivery driver. I live in a studio apartment that smells like curry. I'm barely making rent. You three are, I gestured around the penthouse. Whatever this is, why would you want me? Because you're ours, Logan said, like it was the simplest thing in the world. Your job doesn't matter. Your apartment doesn't matter. You matter, the person you are. The Omega we're meant to be with. You don't even know me, I protested. Then let us get to know you, Marcus said. Stay here for a week, just 1 week. Let us prove that this bond is real, then decide. I can't stay here for a week. I have to work. I have bills. My brother. We already paid your rent for the month, Adrian said gently. And we set up an account for your brother's medical expenses. He'll never have to worry about medication again. I stood up so fast the room spun. You had no right to do that. I don't need your charity. I don't need you to swoop in and fix my life like I'm some kind of project. It's not charity, Dante said calmly. It's what mates do for each other. They take care of each other. We're not mates, I shouted. I don't even know you. You can't just decide we're bonded and expect me to go along with it. You felt it too, Logan said quietly. Don't lie to yourself. You felt the bond the same way we did. He was right. I had felt it. But that didn't mean I had to accept it. That didn't mean I had to give up my independence, my agency, my life to become someone's Omega. 1 week, Marcus said again. That's all we're asking. If at the end of the week you want to leave, you can. No strings attached. We won't stop you. But give us a chance to prove this is real. I wanted to say no. Wanted to walk out right then. But the truth was I had nowhere to go. My rent was paid, which meant I had no excuse not to. And Noah's medication was covered, which meant I didn't have to work overtime to afford it. And some part of me, the part I was trying very hard to ignore, wanted to stay. Wanted to explore this feeling, this pull, this impossible bond they claimed existed. 1 week, I said finally. But I'm not promising anything. All three of them smiled. Identical smiles that made my heart do something complicated in my chest. 1 week, Dante agreed. That first week changed everything, though I fought it every step of the way. The triplets were determined to prove the bond was real, and I was determined to find proof that it wasn't. They set me up in the guest room I'd occupied during my heat. It had its own bathroom, a walk-in closet, and a view of the city that was better than any view I'd ever had in my life. They told me to make myself at home, to treat the penthouse like it was mine. I didn't. I kept my distance, ate meals alone when I could, stayed in my room when I couldn't. I was polite, but cold. I'd agreed to stay for a week, but I hadn't agreed to make it easy for them. Dante noticed first. He found me in the kitchen at 6 a.m. on the second day, trying to make coffee without waking anyone. He appeared in the doorway wearing sweatpants and nothing else, his dark hair messy from sleep, and I had to actively work to keep my eyes on his face. "You're up early," he observed. "Force of habit. I usually start work at 6:30. You don't have to work this week." "I know. I stopped. I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not working." He moved into the kitchen, reaching past me to grab a mug from the cabinet. His scent washed over me, and I had to step back to keep my distance. "Maybe that's something you should figure out," he said. "What you actually want to do instead of what you have to do. I've never had that luxury. You have it now." He made his own coffee, then surprised me by making a second cup and sliding it across the counter to me. 2 sugars, a little cream, that's how you take it, right? I stared at the cup. "How did you know that?" "I pay attention." That became a pattern. All 3 of them paid attention in ways no one ever had before. Marcus noticed that I never sat in the living room because I felt like I was intruding on their space, so he moved his work setup to the guest room and worked alongside me, making it feel less isolating. Logan noticed that I flinched every time someone moved too quickly, so he started announcing his presence before entering a room. And Adrian, warm, observant Adrian, noticed everything. He noticed that I liked to cook, but never had the ingredients to make anything good, so he started stocking the kitchen with everything I might need. He noticed that I read constantly on my phone because I couldn't afford books, so he gave me access to his audiobook subscriptions. He noticed that my delivery uniform was worn and stained, so he left new clothes in my room, casual things that fit perfectly. "I can't accept these," I said when I found them. "Why not?" "Because I can't afford to pay you back." "I'm not asking you to pay me back. I don't take charity." "It's not charity," he said patiently. "It's a gift from someone who cares about you. You barely know me. Then let me get to know you better." That's how I ended up cooking dinner with Adrian that night. He asked what my favorite meal was, and I told him it was my mother's recipe for beef stew, the one she used to make before she died. He asked me to teach him how to make it. We stood side by side in the massive kitchen, and I walked him through the steps, searing the beef, building the base, adding vegetables at the right time. He asked questions about my mother, about my childhood, about the things I remembered. "She was a teacher," I said, stirring the pot. "Elementary school. She loved kids. Used to bring home stories about her students every night. My dad was a mechanic. He could fix anything. They were good people. They deserve better than dying in a house fire." "I'm sorry," Adrian said quietly. "It's been 3 years. I'm fine." "You don't have to be fine all the time." I looked at him, at his kind gray eyes, his gentle expression. "Yes, I do. Because if I'm not fine, if I let myself fall apart, then Noah has no one. And I can't do that to him." "You have us now," he said. "You don't have to carry everything alone." I wanted to argue, wanted to say that we weren't bonded, that this was temporary, that I couldn't depend on them. But standing there in the kitchen with the smell of beef stew filling the air and Adrian's steady presence beside me, I couldn't find the words. We ate dinner together that night, all 4 of us around the dining table like we were a family. Dante asked about Noah, about his diabetes, about what treatment looked like. Marcus asked about my education, about whether I'd gone to college, about what I would have studied if I'd had the chance. Logan asked about my hobbies, about what I did for fun when I wasn't working. The answers were depressing. Noah's treatment was expensive and ongoing. I'd never gone to college because I couldn't afford it. I didn't have hobbies because I didn't have time or money for them. But they didn't look at me with pity. They looked at me like they were filing away information, like they were building a database of who I was and what I needed. On the 3rd day, Marcus found me sitting in the living room, staring at my phone. I'd been scrolling through job listings, trying to figure out what I'd do when the week was up. "What are you looking at?" he asked. "Jobs. I can't go back to delivery. I missed too much work. They probably already replaced me." "Would you want to go back?" I considered that. "No, but it's what I know how to do." "What would you do if you could do anything?" "That's not a realistic question. Humor me." I set down my phone. I always wanted to go to college, study business maybe, learn how companies actually work, build something instead of just surviving day to day. Why didn't you? Because college costs money I don't have. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What if money wasn't an obstacle? What if you could go to school, study whatever you wanted, build whatever career you could imagine? That's a fantasy. It doesn't have to be." I looked at him, at his sharp features, his analytical eyes. "You're talking about the bond again, about me accepting it and letting you provide for me. I'm talking about giving you options you've never had before. And what do you get out of it?" "You," he said simply. "That's all we want. You. Happy, healthy, building the life you deserve." On the fifth day, I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about money in 24 hours, hadn't worried about rent or bills or Noah's medication, hadn't calculated how many hours I needed to work to break even. For the first time in 3 years, I just existed without the constant background panic. It terrified me. I found Dante in his home office, working on his laptop. He looked up when I appeared in the doorway. "Can I come in?" "Of course." I sat in the chair across from his desk. "This scares me." "What does?" "All of it. This." I gestured around. "Getting used to this. Depending on you. Forgetting how to take care of myself." "You're not forgetting how to take care of yourself," Dante said. "You're learning that you don't have to do it alone anymore." "But what if this doesn't work? What if the bond isn't real? What if you realize I'm not what you thought I was?" "The bond is real," he said with absolute certainty. "We feel it every moment you're near us, and you're exactly what we thought you were. Strong, resilient, caring, determined, everything we could want in a mate." "I'm a mess," I said quietly. "I have debt and trauma and a brother to support. I'm not some perfect omega from a good family with a good education. I'm just—" "Perfect for us," he interrupted. "Exactly as you are." On the sixth day, my real heat arrived. Not pseudo this time, the actual cycle I'd been suppressing with medication. I felt it building in the afternoon, the familiar ache in my scent glands, the rising temperature under my skin. I panicked. Called out for whoever was closest. Adrian appeared in my doorway within seconds. "What's wrong?" "My heat. It's starting. I need suppressants. I need—" "You're not taking suppressants," he said firmly. "I have to. I can't go through a heat here. Not with all of you. It's not safe." "It's perfectly safe," he said. "We'll help you through it. You don't understand. A real heat is different from pseudo. It's stronger, more intense. I won't be able to control myself." "We'll control ourselves," Marcus said, appearing behind Adrian. "You're safe with us. We promise. But the bond, if I'm in heat and you're nearby, it'll be impossible to resist." "We're not going to claim you during your heat," Dante said, joining his brothers. "Not unless you explicitly ask us to. The bond doesn't override consent, ever." "But—" "Jasper," Logan's voice was gentle but firm. "Trust us. Let us help you. We've been researching omega heats for the past week. We know what we're doing." The heat hit full force an hour later. It was worse than any I'd had before, probably because I'd been suppressing for so long. The fire under my skin was unbearable. My scent glands were producing so much that the room reeked of grapefruit and vanilla. My omega instincts were screaming for alpha pheromones, for touch, for claiming. But the triplets kept their promise. They didn't enter my room. They stayed outside, releasing their pheromones in controlled bursts, enough to soothe but not overwhelm. They brought food and water, leaving it just inside the door. They talked to me through the door, their voices calm and reassuring. "You're doing so well," Adrian said on the second day when I was crying from exhaustion and frustration. "Just a little longer. It'll break soon." I couldn't even finish the sentence. My body knew what it needed. The bond was screaming at me to open the door, to let them in, to complete what biology demanded. "I know what you need," Dante said. His voice was rougher than usual, strained with the effort of control. "But we're not claiming you like this. Not when you can't think clearly. Not when you might regret it later." "I won't regret it," I gasped. "You don't know that?" Marcus said. "The heat is talking, not you. When it breaks, when you're clear-headed, then we'll talk about claiming. Not before." They were right. I knew they were right. But in the moment, it felt like torture. The heat finally broke, on the third day. I woke up clear-headed, exhausted, and overwhelmed by what had just happened. These three alphas had helped me through the most vulnerable state an Omega could experience, and they hadn't taken advantage, not once. They'd kept their promise. They'd kept me safe. I got out of bed, showered, put on clean clothes, stood in front of the bathroom mirror, and made a decision. I found them in the living room. All three of them looked exhausted, like they hadn't slept in days, which they probably hadn't. "I'm ready to talk about the bond," I said. They straightened immediately. Dante spoke first. "Are you sure? You just came out of heat. You should rest." "I'm sure," I said. "I want to accept it. The bond. I want to be your mate." The relief on their faces was palpable, but Marcus asked the important question. "Why? Not because you feel obligated. Not because we helped you. Why do you want this?" I sat down across from them. "Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I belong somewhere. Because you see me as more than what I can provide or what I can do. Because you kept me safe when you didn't have to. Because I took a breath. Because I'm falling in love with you, all three of you. And that terrifies me, but it's true." "We're falling in love with you too," Adrian said quietly. "Does that mean you accept the bond?" Logan asked. "Officially?" "Yes," I said. "I accept it." Dante stood, crossed to where I was sitting, and knelt in front of me. "Then we need to explain what comes next. The mating bond requires a physical claiming, a bite to your scent gland. All three of us will mark you, and you'll be permanently bonded to us. It's not reversible. Once it's done, we'll be connected for life." "I understand." "It has to happen during your next heat," Marcus added. "The hormones make the marking take properly. That means waiting at least a month." "I can wait," I said. "And in the meantime," Logan said, "we court you, properly. We show you what this relationship will look like. We build trust and partnership. No rushing, no pressure." "I'd like that," I admitted. So that's what we did. For the next month, they courted me, and it was nothing like I expected. Dante took me to his office on the 8th day, not just to visit, but to actually show me how his company worked. We walked through glass-walled conference rooms where people stopped mid-sentence to stare, through open-plan workspaces where employees greeted him with respectful nods, into his corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. "This is where I spend most of my time," he said, gesturing to the massive desk, the 3 computer monitors, the wall of bookshelves filled with business journals and strategy manuals. "Running Blackwood Industries means making 100 decisions a day. Most of them have consequences that ripple through thousands of lives." "That sounds exhausting," I said. "It is, but it's also exhilarating, knowing that the choices I make can build something bigger than myself, can provide jobs, create opportunities, change trajectories." He pulled up a chair beside his. "Sit. Let me show you what we're working on." For the next 3 hours, he walked me through a proposal for expanding into renewable energy, showed me the market research, the risk assessments, the projected returns, asked what I thought about the strategy. "I don't know anything about business," I protested. "You know logic. You know problem solving. That's all business is. Applying common sense to complex situations." He pointed to a section of the report. "What do you think about this timeline? Too aggressive? Too cautious?" I studied it. "Too aggressive. You're assuming government regulations won't change, but they always do. You need buffer time for delays." He stared at me, then smiled. "You're absolutely right. See? You know more than you think." We spent the rest of the afternoon revising the proposal together. He asked my opinion on everything, listened when I made suggestions, treated me like an equal partner instead of someone who needed protection. When I pointed out a flaw in the marketing strategy that his entire team had missed, he pulled out his phone and called them immediately. "Hayes just found an oversight. We need to revise Section 4 before the board meeting." He looked at me while he talked. "Yes, Hayes, my mate. He's brilliant, and you're all going to get used to working with him." When we left his office that evening, his hand at the small of my back, I felt different, useful, capable, like maybe I had something to offer beyond just surviving. "You're smart," he said in the elevator. "You see things others miss. Have you ever thought about getting a business degree?" "I told you, I can't afford." "You can now," he said simply. "We have the resources. The only question is whether you want to." I looked at him, At his serious expression, his absolute certainty. I do want to. I've never been able to before. It feels impossible. Nothing is impossible anymore, he said. Not with us. Marcus found me the next day sitting at the dining table, surrounded by college applications I'd printed out. I'd been staring at them for an hour, overwhelmed by the options, terrified of making the wrong choice. Need help? He asked, setting down a cup of tea beside me. I don't even know where to start. There are so many programs, so many requirements. What if I pick wrong? Then you change direction, Marcus said practically. Nothing is permanent except the bond. Everything else is flexible. He pulled up a chair. Tell me what you're interested in. Business, like Dante showed me. Understanding how companies work, how decisions get made, how to build something sustainable. Good, that narrows it down. He pulled out his tablet, started making notes. Local universities with strong business programs, part-time versus full-time. Prerequisites you'll need. Timeline for applications. He looked up. This is manageable. We'll make a plan. And we did. For the next 2 hours, Marcus walked me through every aspect of going back to school. Financial aid I wouldn't need because they'd cover it, but he showed me anyway. Class schedules that would work around whatever job I decided to take. Programs with evening classes for working adults. He broke down every overwhelming piece into manageable steps. You're good at this, I said, watching him organize everything into a spreadsheet. It's what I do. Break complex problems into solvable components. He looked at me. But you know what the real trick is? Knowing that you don't have to solve everything at once. Just the next step, and then the next. That's how you build a life. Is that how you built yours? That's how we all do it. One decision at a time. Some of them work out, some don't, but you keep moving forward anyway. He set up a financial plan for me too. Walked me through budgeting, investing, long-term planning, showed me how to manage money instead of just surviving paycheck to paycheck. He set up a trust fund for Noah's medical expenses that would cover him through college and beyond. This is too much, I protested when I saw the numbers. It's not too much, Marcus said. It's what you deserve, what Noah deserves. Let us give you security. But what if something happens? What if the bond doesn't work out long term? What if... The bond is permanent, Marcus interrupted gently. We're not going anywhere. But even if we were, this trust is in Noah's name. It's his, regardless of what happens between us. He'll never have to worry about medication or treatment or missing school because he can't afford it. That's settled. I felt my eyes sting. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is what family does. On the 10th day, Logan dragged me to the building's private gym. I'd been avoiding it, intimidated by the equipment and the idea of exercising in front of people who actually knew what they were doing. I don't work out, I protested. I'm not athletic. I'll just embarrass myself. You carry packages all day, Logan said. You're plenty athletic. You just haven't channeled it properly. The gym was empty except for us. Logan had reserved it for the morning, ensuring I wouldn't have an audience. He started me with basic exercises. Bodyweight squats, push-ups on my knees, planks that made my core scream after 30 seconds. You're stronger than you think, he said, demonstrating proper form. Your body is capable of more than you've been letting it do. I carry packages all day. I'm plenty strong. That's endurance, not strength. There's a difference. Endurance is about lasting. Strength is about capacity. How much weight can you move? How much force can you generate? You've been in survival mode so long you've only developed the minimum required to get through the day, but you have so much more potential. He was patient as he taught me, corrected my posture without making me feel incompetent, encouraged me when I wanted to quit, pushed me just hard enough to challenge without overwhelming. By the end of the hour, I was exhausted in a completely different way than delivery work exhaustion. This felt earned, accomplished. How do you feel? Logan asked as we cooled down. Like I got hit by a truck. He laughed. That's good. That's growth. Tomorrow you'll be sore, and then the next day you'll be stronger. Why did you teach me this? I asked after one session a week later, when I could finally do a real push-up without collapsing. It's not like I need to be strong. I'm not working delivery anymore. Because being our mate doesn't mean being helpless, he said. You should feel strong, should know you can take care of yourself, even with us around. Physical strength builds mental confidence. When you know your body is capable, you start believing your mind is too. Is that what happened to you? Yes. I was a weak kid, sick a lot. Marcus was always the smart one, Dante was always the leader, and I was just there. Then I started training, got strong, realized that my body could do things I never thought possible, and that changed how I saw myself, changed how I saw everything. You're not just the strong one, though. You're more than that. He smiled. Took me a long time to realize that. Strength was how I defined myself, because it was the thing I could control. But you're right, I'm more than that. Just like you're more than a delivery driver or a struggling Omega or any of the other labels you've been carrying. On the 12th day, Adrian asked what I like to do for fun. I stared at him blankly. Fun, he repeated. Hobbies. Things you enjoy just because you enjoy them. I don't have hobbies. Everyone has hobbies. I read sometimes, on my phone, when I have time, which is never. What do you read? Whatever's free. News articles, Reddit threads, library apps when I remember to return books on time. Adrian's expression suggested this was even sadder than he'd anticipated. Come with me. He took me to his study. One wall was floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, packed with books of every genre imaginable. Fiction, nonfiction, classics, contemporary, graphic novels, art books. It was the kind of personal library I'd only ever seen in movies. Pick anything, he said. Anything at all. It's yours. I walked along the shelves, running my fingers over the spines. So many books, so many worlds I had never had time to explore. I pulled out a thick fantasy novel, something I'd seen recommended online but never thought I'd actually read. This one? Great choice. One of my favorites. He paused. But you said you usually read on your phone. Would you prefer audiobooks? You can listen while doing other things. I can't afford audiobook subscriptions. You have access to all of mine now. Let me set it up. He spent the next hour showing me his audiobook library. Thousands of titles across every genre. He created playlists, organized by mood. Want something light? He said. I've got comedy memoirs in folder 1. Need to think? There's philosophy in folder 3. Want to escape? Epic fantasy in folder 7. How did you have time to organize all this? I asked, overwhelmed. I made time, he said simply, because I wanted you to have options, to feel like you can access the same things as before, just in a different format. Reading shouldn't be a luxury. It should be a given. That night, I lay in bed listening to a book about a chosen family of found siblings learning to trust each other after trauma. The narrator's voice was soothing, the story was engaging, and for the first time in years, I was doing something purely for pleasure. Not for education, not for work, not for survival. Just because I wanted to. Adrian knocked on my door around 10. How's the book? Good. Really good. Thank you. You're welcome. And Jasper? You're allowed to enjoy things. You're allowed to take up space without earning it. You're allowed to just be. The words hit harder than they should have. I'd spent so long believing I had to justify my existence through productivity that the idea of just being felt almost transgressive. I'm working on it, I said quietly. I know, and we'll help you get there. On the 15th day, Noah called. I'd been talking to him regularly, but always with the triplets nearby. This time, I answered in my room with the door closed. Jasper, are you okay? You sound different. Different how? I don't know. Less stressed, like you're actually breathing instead of just surviving. I laughed. I am breathing. For the first time in a while. They're treating you good? The alphas? They're treating me great. Better than great. Good. Because if they weren't, I'd find a way to kick their asses even though they're huge and I'm scrawny. You're not scrawny. You're average height for your age. I'm 5'6". That's scrawny. You're 16. You'll grow. Will you bring them to meet me? Your mates? I want to see who's taking care of my brother. My throat felt tight. You want to meet them? Of course I do. They're family now, right? That's how mating works? Yeah, that's how it works. Then bring them. This weekend. I'll make dinner. Well, I'll order pizza, but I'll pretend I made it. I laughed through the tears I was trying to hide. Okay, this weekend. I told the triplets that night. They immediately started planning. Dante asked what Noah liked, whether there were any foods to avoid because of his diabetes. Marcus researched the best endocrinologists in the city, just in case Noah needed better care. Logan asked if Noah liked sports, if there was anything he could teach him. You don't have to do all this, I said, watching them coordinate like they were planning a military operation. He's your brother, Dante said. That makes him our family. We take care of family. That weekend, we drove to Noah's apartment. It was smaller than mine had been, in a worse neighborhood, with stairs that should have been condemned years ago. I felt embarrassed showing them where my brother lived, this run-down place that screamed poverty. But they didn't flinch, didn't judge, just followed me up the stairs and waited while I knocked. Noah opened the door, took one look at the 3 identical massive alphas crowding the hallway and said, "Holy shit, you weren't kidding about the triplets." "Language," I said automatically. "I'm 16. I'm allowed to swear. And he gestured vaguely. Huge. How am I supposed to not swear?" Dante laughed. Actually laughed. "It's fine. We get that reaction a lot. You must be Noah." "Yeah. You're the alphas taking care of my brother?" "Yes," all 3 of them said together. Noah studied them for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. He deserves it. Come in." I ordered pizza, but I can't promise the place is clean. The apartment was small but tidy. Noah had clearly tried to make it presentable. The triplets settled onto his battered couch like it was their penthouse furniture. Asked about his school, his friends, his plans for college, treated him with genuine respect instead of the condescension teenagers usually got from adults. Marcus pulled Noah aside while the pizza was being served. I watched them talk in the kitchen, Marcus asking questions about Noah's diabetes management, Noah explaining his routine. When they came back, Marcus said, "We'd like to set you up with an endocrinologist I know, best in the city. He specializes in adolescent diabetes and has some new treatment protocols that might help." "I can't afford," Noah started. "You're not paying," Marcus said firmly. "Your family. Family doesn't pay." Noah looked at me, his eyes wide. I nodded. "It's okay. Let them help." After dinner, Logan asked if Noah wanted to shoot hoops at the court down the street. They left together, Logan shortening his stride to match Noah's pace, talking about basketball statistics and whether the local team had any chance of making playoffs this year. "He's good with kids," I said to Dante. "He's good with people he cares about," Dante corrected. "And he cares about Noah because Noah matters to you." When Logan and Noah came back, sweaty and laughing, Noah hugged me goodbye and whispered, "They're good, Jasper. Really good. Don't let them go." "I won't," I promised. 4 weeks after I accepted the bond, my heat arrived again. This time, I was ready. This time, I wanted it. The triplets prepared everything. Comfortable nest of blankets in Dante's massive bed, food and water nearby, soft lighting, everything I could need. "Are you sure?" Dante asked one last time before it started. "Once we claim you, there's no going back." "I'm sure," I said. "I've never been more sure of anything." The heat hit, and this time, they came to me. All 3 of them, surrounding me, their scents mixing into something intoxicating. They took care of me through the worst of it, their touch gentle but firm, their presence exactly what my omega instincts craved. And when the time was right, when I was clear-headed enough to consent but still deep in heat hormones, they claimed me. Dante first, his bite firm and possessive on my right scent gland. Then Marcus, precise and careful on my left. Finally Logan, protective and tender on the back of my neck. 3 marks, 3 bonds, 3 alphas binding themselves to me permanently. The sensation was overwhelming. I felt their emotions flooding into me through the bond. Love, devotion, possessiveness, pride. So much pride in me for accepting them, for trusting them, for letting them in. "I love you," I said to all 3 of them when the claiming was done. "I don't know when it happened, but I do. I love all of you." "We know," they said together. We felt it through the bond. The months that followed were an adjustment. I moved into the penthouse, officially. Not the guest room, but their shared master suite. A massive space with a bed big enough for 4, a closet that had been reorganized to include my things, a bathroom with more amenities than my entire apartment had contained. The first week was strange. I kept waking up disoriented, reaching for walls that weren't where they used to be, walking into furniture I hadn't memorized yet, but the triplets were patient. They'd wake up when I stumbled in the dark, guide me back to bed, hold me until I fell asleep again. "You'll get used to it," Adrian said one morning after I'd knocked over a lamp at 3 a.m. "Give yourself time." I enrolled in college, business management program at the local university. The application process was surreal. I'd spent years believing college was impossible, and now I was sitting in an admissions office filling out paperwork while Marcus negotiated the details with the registrar. "We can get you in for spring semester," the admissions counselor said. "It's unusual to start mid-year, but given your circumstances and your test scores, we can make an exception." My test scores. I'd taken the placement exams expecting to fail, expecting to need remedial classes, expecting proof that I wasn't cut out for this. Instead, I'd scored in the 90th percentile. The counselor had looked at me with surprise. "These are excellent scores. Have you considered our honors program?" I hadn't, but Marcus had. And suddenly I was enrolled in advanced classes with students who'd been preparing for college their whole lives, while I'd been preparing for nothing but survival. The first day of classes, I sat in the back row of Business Management 301 and tried not to hyperventilate. Everyone around me looked so confident, so prepared, so like they belonged here. I felt like an imposter, like someone would figure out I didn't deserve to be there and throw me out. Then the professor called on me to answer a question about market analysis, and I answered based on what Dante had taught me during our afternoons in his office. The professor paused. "That's exactly right. Excellent analysis of risk versus reward factors." Maybe I did belong here after all. The first semester was brutal. I'd underestimated how much work college required, reading assignments that took hours, papers that needed to be perfect. Exams that tested not just memorization, but actual understanding. I spent every evening at the dining table surrounded by textbooks, highlighters, notes, scrawled in margins. The triplets adapted their schedules around mine. Dante started working from home, more so he could answer questions when I got stuck on economic theory. Marcus helped me create study schedules that maximized retention. Logan made sure I ate and slept and didn't burn out from pushing too hard. Adrian brought me tea at midnight when I was cramming for exams and sat beside me in comfortable silence while I worked. "You're going to make yourself sick," Dante said one night when he found me still studying at 2 a.m. "I have an exam tomorrow. I need to be ready." "You're already ready. You've been studying for 6 hours. Your brain needs rest." "But what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if everyone figures out I don't belong there?" He pulled me away from the table, wrapped his arms around me. "You belong there. You've earned your place. And even if you did fail, which you won't, we'd still be proud of you for trying." I didn't fail. I got a B+. Not perfect, but solid. More than I'd ever expected. By the end of my first semester, I'd made the dean's list. The letter came in the mail, official university letterhead, my name printed in formal script. "Congratulations on your academic achievement. You have been recognized for maintaining a GPA of 3.8 or higher." I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I cried. The triplets found me in the kitchen, tears streaming down my face, clutching the letter like it might disappear if I let go. "What's wrong?" Adrian asked, immediately concerned. "Nothing's wrong. I held up the letter. "I made the dean's list. I did this." They celebrated like I'd won a Nobel Prize. Dante ordered food from my favorite restaurant. Marcus framed the letter and hung it in his office. Logan called Noah to tell him the news. And Adrian held me while I cried happy tears and whispered, "I'm so proud of you. We all are." 6 months after the mating, I started working part-time at Blackwood Industries. Not as a favor, but as an actual employee. Entry-level position in the business development department. I had to interview like everyone else, had to prove I could do the work, had to earn my place alongside people who didn't know I was sleeping with the CEOs. My interview was with the department head, a sharp-eyed alpha woman named Victoria Chen who had a reputation for being impossible to impress. "Your resume is thin," she said, scanning the single page I'd managed to put together. "No work experience beyond delivery driving, no internships, no relevant background." "No," I agreed, "but I'm a fast learner. I'm enrolled at the university studying business management. I have practical experience analyzing market strategies and risk assessment, and I'm willing to work harder than anyone else you interview. She studied me. Why do you want to work here, specifically? Because I'm mated to your bosses, I thought. But what I said was, because Blackwood Industries has a reputation for innovation and employee development, I want to learn from the best, and I want to contribute to something bigger than myself. She hired me. Later, I learned she'd had no idea I was connected to the Triplets. She just thought I had potential. My first day, I showed up 30 minutes early, wearing a suit Dante had helped me pick out. I was assigned to a cubicle in an open workspace, given a computer login, and handed a stack of files to analyze. "Welcome to the team," my supervisor said. He was a beta named James, mid-40s, with kind eyes and a patient demeanor. "We're working on the renewable energy expansion. Your job is to review competitor analysis and identify market gaps. Think you can handle that?" "Yes, sir." "Don't call me sir. Makes me feel old. James is fine." I dove into the work, spent 8 hours reviewing data, making notes, identifying patterns. It was exactly like what Dante had shown me, except now I was doing it for real, contributing to actual decisions that would affect actual people. At the end of my first week, James called me into his office. I went, heart pounding, convinced I'd messed up somehow. "I wanted to talk about your work on the competitor analysis," he said. "I'm sorry if You found something our entire team missed," he interrupted. "That regulation loophole you identified? That changes our entire approach to market entry. We're presenting it to the board next week." "Really? Really? Where did you learn to analyze like that?" "I've been studying, reading everything I can find about business strategy." He smiled. "Well, keep studying. You're good at this." My supervisor, who didn't know I was mated to the CEOs, told me after my first month that I was one of the best hires they'd made in years, that I had a natural head for business and strategy, that I had a future with the company if I wanted it. I did want it. Turned out that when you weren't constantly exhausted and stressed about survival, you had the energy to be good at things, to excel, to build. The first time I ran into Dante at the office was surreal. He was walking through the department with an entourage of executives, and our eyes met across the open workspace. He didn't smile, didn't acknowledge me beyond a professional nod. Kept walking like I was just another employee. Later, I asked him about it. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because this is your space," he said. "Where you're building something that belongs to you, not to us. I'm not going to compromise that by treating you differently than I treat any other employee. But I am different. I'm your mate. Here, you're Jasper Hayes, junior analyst. That's how it should be. You're earning respect through your work, not through our relationship. That matters." He was right. It did matter. When my coworkers praised my analysis or asked my opinion in meetings, I knew it was because of my capabilities, not because the bosses liked me. That validation meant everything. A year after I accepted the bond, I graduated with my associate degree, top of my class. The ceremony was held in the university's main auditorium, hundreds of graduates in identical caps and gowns. I sat in the assigned seat, surrounded by strangers, waiting for my name to be called. When it was, I walked across that stage and accepted the diploma with shaking hands. The dean shook my hand, congratulated me, moved on to the next person, just another graduate in a sea of hundreds. But when I looked out into the audience, I saw them: Dante, Marcus, Logan, and Adrian. All four of them standing, applauding, their pride visible even from a distance. And beside them was Noah, jumping up and down and whistling like he was at a basketball game. After the ceremony, they found me outside. Noah got to me first, pulling me into a hug. "You did it! You actually did it!" "I actually did it," I repeated, still not quite believing it. "We're so proud of you," Dante said, and his voice was rough with emotion. That night, they threw me a party. Not just family, but friends I'd made in school, co-workers from Blackwood Industries, Noah's friends, even my old delivery supervisor who'd sent a card congratulating me. The penthouse was packed with people celebrating this thing I'd accomplished. Dante gave a toast to Jasper, who rang the wrong doorbell and changed all our lives for the better, who proved that potential has nothing to do with circumstances and everything to do with determination. We're honored to be your mates. I was crying by the time he finished. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears that came from finally believing I deserved all of this. That night, lying in bed with all three of my mates surrounding me, I thought about that day. Standing in the hallway of the Zenith Tower, exhausted and behind schedule, holding a package that weighed more than it should. I'd rung the wrong doorbell, made a mistake, got lost, and found my home anyway. 2 years after the mating, my life looked nothing like I'd imagined. I was the director of business development for Blackwood Industries, a promotion I'd earned through 3 years of exceptional work and a completed master's degree. I had an office with my name on the door, a team of analysts who reported to me, and a reputation in the industry as someone who could spot market opportunities others missed. The day I was promoted, I stood in my new office looking out at the city skyline and thought about the delivery driver who'd been too exhausted to afford lunch, about the Omega who'd believed his life would never be more than survival, about the person I'd been before I rang that wrong doorbell. That person felt like a stranger now. "How does it feel?" Marcus asked from the doorway. "Surreal, like I'm going to wake up and find out this was all a dream." "It's not a dream. You earned this. Every step of it. I couldn't have done it without you, without all of you." "You could have," he said. "It would have taken longer, been harder, but you would have found your way eventually. We just gave you the resources to do it faster." I turned to face him. "Do you ever regret it, taking in a broke delivery driver who collapsed at your door?" "Every day," he said with a completely straight face. My heart stopped. Then he smiled. "I'm joking. We've never regretted it, not even for a second. You're the best thing that ever happened to us." That evening, we had dinner together like we did every night. The four of us at the table that had become ours, talking about our days, making plans for the weekend, existing in the comfortable routine we'd built. "I have news," I said midway through the meal. All three of them looked at me. "I'm pregnant." The silence lasted 3 heartbeats, then chaos. Adrian jumped up, nearly knocking over his chair. Marcus pulled out his phone, probably to call doctors. Logan came around the table to pull me into his arms, careful and gentle. And Dante. Dante just stared at me with an expression of such profound joy that my eyes welled up. "Triplets," I added. "One for each of you. The doctor confirmed it this morning." "Triplets," Adrian breathed. "Ours," Logan said. "Perfect," Marcus finished. The pregnancy was carefully monitored from the start. 3 babies meant higher risk, more doctor appointments, more precautions. My Omega body was designed for this, but carrying 3 at once pushed every biological system to its limits. The first trimester was rough. Morning sickness that lasted all day. Exhaustion so profound I could barely stay awake through meetings. Food aversions that made everything smell wrong. I lost weight instead of gaining it, and the doctor put me on a strict nutrition plan. The triplets were incredible. Adrian took over cooking, making bland foods that wouldn't trigger my nausea. Marcus reorganized my work schedule so I could rest when I needed to. Logan carried me upstairs when I was too tired to climb them myself. Dante held my hair when I vomited and never once complained about being woken up at 3 a.m. "I'm sorry," I said one morning after throwing up for the 3rd time. "This is miserable for you." "This isn't about us," Dante said firmly. "You're growing our children. That's the least miserable thing in the world." At 12 weeks, the morning sickness finally eased. We had our first ultrasound, saw 3 tiny heartbeats on the screen, heard the doctor confirm that all 3 babies were developing normally. 3 boys, the doctor said. "Congratulations." 3 sons, 1 for each of my mates. The perfection of it made me cry right there in the examination room. The second trimester was easier. My energy returned. My appetite came back with a vengeance. I started showing, my Omega body adapting to accommodate 3 growing babies. My stomach expanded faster than I'd expected, and by 20 weeks, I looked like I was about to pop. "You're beautiful," Adrian said one night, his hand resting on my swollen belly. "I'm huge. You're pregnant with our sons. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." The baby started moving at 18 weeks, little flutters at first, then actual kicks. The triplets were obsessed, constantly touching my stomach, talking to the babies, feeling for movement. "Do you think they can hear us?" Logan asked one night, his face pressed against my belly. "The doctor said they can. after 20 weeks. Then I'm going to tell them about their dad, about you, about how brave you are and how much we love you and how excited we are to meet them. He did, every night. All three of them took turns talking to my stomach, telling stories, making promises about the life we'd build together. The third trimester was hard. My body struggled under the weight, my back ached constantly, my feet swelled. I couldn't sleep comfortably no matter what position I tried. Simple tasks like tying my shoes became impossible. But the triplets were there for everything. Marcus bought me a special pregnancy pillow that supported my entire body. Logan gave me foot rubs every night. Adrian made sure I ate enough protein and took my prenatal vitamins. Dante handled everything I couldn't, from putting on my socks to reaching items on high shelves. At 34 weeks, my doctor ordered bed rest. 3 babies is a lot of strain. We need to get you as close to full term as possible. I argued. I had work to do, meetings to attend, a department to run, but the doctor was firm. Your job right now is growing these babies. Everything else can wait. So I spent 6 weeks on the couch, watching TV, reading books, going slowly insane from boredom. The triplets worked from home, keeping me company, making sure I didn't go stir crazy. At 37 weeks, I went into labor. It started at 4 a.m. with contractions that woke me from sleep. I lay there for 20 minutes, timing them, before shaking Dante awake. It's time. He was alert instantly. Time? Labor time? Yes. Within minutes, all 3 of them were awake, dressed, moving with practiced efficiency. We'd been through the plan 100 times. Logan called the doctor. Marcus grabbed the hospital bag. Adrian helped me to the car. Dante drove, breaking several traffic laws to get us to the hospital in record time. The labor was long. 12 hours of contractions, of pain, of exhaustion. The doctors monitored everything carefully. 3 babies meant triple the risk, triple the complications. But my Omega body was strong, designed for exactly this purpose. The triplets stayed with me through all of it, held my hands, wiped my forehead, told me I was doing great even when I wanted to give up. At 4:32 p.m., our first son was born. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, screaming and perfect. At 4:39 p.m., our second son arrived. 6 pounds, 15 ounces, quieter but just as perfect. At 4:47 p.m., our third son made his entrance. 7 pounds even, demanding and loud. 3 boys. 3 healthy, beautiful boys. The doctor placed them on my chest one at a time, each one perfect and tiny and ours. I looked up at my mates and saw tears streaming down all their faces. You did it, Dante said, his voice breaking. You gave us sons. That night, surrounded by my mates and our 3 sleeping newborns, I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced before. This was my family. Built on a wrong doorbell, a fated mate bond, and 3 alphas who saw past my circumstances to who I really was. Thank you, I said quietly. For what? Dante asked. For not letting me leave. We could never have let you leave, he said. You were always meant to be here. We just had to wait for you to ring the wrong doorbell. Thank you for joining Jasper Hayes' journey from wrong doorbell to forever home, from surviving to thriving, from delivery driver to beloved mate and father. If this story of accidental discovery, fated bonds, and 3 alphas who recognized their Omega before he recognized himself touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more BL Omegaverse stories. Drop a comment telling me which moment made your heart race. Was it when Jasper collapsed and they caught him, when they protected him through his heat without claiming, or when he finally accepted the bond? Until next time, remember, sometimes the wrong address is exactly where you need to be. Sometimes getting lost leads you home, and sometimes the best things in life happen when you ring the wrong doorbell. Love finds us in the most unexpected places, and fate doesn't care about your delivery route.